All right, I'm going to try building a Strat preset with you. Again, I'm not a pro, I'm just a guy. Knows a couple of things. I'm just sharing for people who might be beginning. So I picked a new preset and it comes up. I'm going to pick an amplifier that would go well with a Fender Strat. You could go with a Fender 65 Twin. I personally like the Deluxe better for this anyway. So I'm going to pick it. The cab that it loads is the Fender Deluxe 212 D1. Personally, I either like that FD 412 here, that has a little bit more mid. This is a little brighter. Just seems to me like it responds better. So you can pick the one you want. That's the one I want. I'm going to bring, well, first of all, look at your input volume, top left. Go to your hottest pickup. Make sure you're just touching yellow. Don't get into the red. We just want a good solid input so that we don't have a thin signal. If your input level's too thin or too low, it's going to make a thin sound no matter what you do, and you get a lot of noise. If you're using humbuckers and it's got a hotter output, you'll need to bring that down. That's why you need to build your presets based on the guitar that you're using. So if I wanted the same exact sound, but I want to use my Jerry Cantrell Epiphone Les Paul, then I would want to retweak the preset for the levels of those pickups and then save it under a different name, and you'll have better results if you do that. Okay, so go back to the amp. You see the levels are all on noon. That's no good. I like the master where it's at. I want my treble to be a little brighter, so I'm going to come up towards 8. My bass is fine. This little speaker has so much bass, but I'm going to bring the mids up a little. I'm going to click the advance button and I'm going to go in here and I see volume is at 50. That's the input volume. You've got your master, but now I have a power amp mix and I can tweak this a little bit and it changes the sound. I don't think you want to go crazy with it. If I go all the way up, don't hear a lot of sound. Actually sounds a little compressed to me, but I think you boost it up just a little bit. I'm going to bring my volume up to about 60, my main, or the first volume. 60, 65, let's see. See your output level? It's in the yellow. Okay, and that's before I put any drives in, so I may have to tweak that. So I'm going to go back to basic. So there's my settings. This amp, the way they have it, you have a clean and you have a drive. I mean, it's alright. You'd have to retweak it. You see how everything's set back to the default. I'm going to go back to clean. I'm going to add a compressor at the front of the chain just so we can demo it. You can use compressor or not. A lot of Strat players use compression. With this MXR, the right way to set it up is turn your sensitivity all the way to 0. So there's no compressor activity or action. If we put, I know from playing around with it, if I put my output to about here, if it's on, off, it's real similar. And then I can bring my sensitivity up, which will start compressing it. And then it's also going to bring in a little noise. you just have to dial that into taste. I think with compressors, you either love it or hate it. Anyway, we're going to leave it in. Now I'm going to add my drive. And my drive, we're going to use a TS or Tube 808 Tube Screamer. I have Stevie Ray Vaughan's pedal of choice. Bring my treble up a little bit. I'm going to keep this output not too hot. I think you'll find as you learn, as you tweak, people actually use less distortion and drive than you might think. You might be tempted to think you need to run this way up, but actually a lot of it is in how you play, right? So if I play easy, sounds pretty clean, but if I dig in, hear that drive? So a lot of it is how you attack in your playing, and most of you probably know that. Anyway, this setting that you see here on my Tube Dreamer is pretty close to what people say Stevie Ray used. I'll never sound like Stevie Ray. You probably won't either. You can start with his sound and develop your own, and that's what you ought to be going for. So that's as Strat as it gets, man. Alright, one more thing. You might want to add some reverb at the end. I don't particularly care for dry. Classic blues people didn't use a ton of reverb, I don't think. In other videos I've used the hall reverb, so I'm not going to use that, even though that's the one I like. I'm going to show you the differences between two reverbs right here. You can use a spring if you want. For me, it's way too short and twangy. I'm not a spring reverb person. Let's go with this bright reverb. Let's go here. Let's turn our mix down. We don't want a ton. I don't like my tone way up, so I'm going to bring it down. Hear the difference if I have the tone all the way up? Hear how high-end echoey it is? If I come down more towards the mid, to me that's smoother. Maybe give it a little more mix. Just gives it a little depth. Anyway, there you go. So there's that bright reverb. It's pretty good. Anyway, I like to hear it getting noisier the more we add, plus I'm having to turn my guitar towards this thing to work it. Single coils are pretty noisy, even though this one's supposed to be noiseless. So let me swap out this reverb real quick. Give you something kind of fun if you hadn't tried it. This mod reverb, it's really interesting. It'll add, it's not a pure tone like if you're going for some, you know, traditional blues, but if you're just playing with sounds, hear that modulation in there? exaggerating a little bit. I wouldn't have that much in there, but you get the idea. But it's almost got a doubler in there, and it sounds pretty cool. Anyway, that'll get you started. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. If there's something that I can do for you. If you have a question, let me know. Thank you.